All right, Thomas, let's get into these predictions. After last week, looks like me and you actually both had a really good week of predicting. The main difference being that I kind of talked myself into thinking that the Bengals would beat the Steelers, and I was very sadly mistaken. By the way, for my Bengals fans out there, a little bit of breaking news that happened. I think it was just announced about 30 minutes ago, as of the recording of this podcast. Um, Takkarist McKinley, the guy that we picked up from the Atlanta Falcons on waivers, um, has been cut due to failing a physical. So
Oh, that's
yet
that's always
another
fun.
yet another gut punch after the gut punch we just received. So that's exciting. But anyway, yeah, me and Thomas did really well this week. Thomas, you went 13-1 as far as your predictions this
Awesome.
week. I went 12
Wow.
and 2.
Great. That's phenomenal. How do
So
you start
it
betting
is
money?
it is nice for me, even though you still got ahead of me. It's nice for me because now I have a winning record now. Like I
Oh,
no longer right now you're 39-15 on the season and I'm 31-23. Before this episode, before the past week kind of went along, I had been kind of nursing a losing record after a really, really bad showing the first week that we did this. So yeah, the only other game that we both got wrong was the Thursday night game that I actually believe was in progress when we
we were
recorded
doing the podcast.
the prediction segment, and that ended up in a Colts victory. I think we both picked the Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of sucked. Um,
It's just the AFC. That's one thing you love about football. Is football. So the NFL is so unpredictable. This is
yeah.
why I like the NFL more than I like college football because in college football, if there's an obvious mismatch or there's an obvious team as a favorite, and you just go with the team as obviously a favorite. This is why I love pro football so much more than college football,
Yeah.
because the talent is so close. And it was just another example of it. The Titans versus Colts is that we have two good teams play each other. Realistically, either team could win because the NFL is so unpredictable.
That's
So
right.
I love it. I love
And
it.
actually, on that note, I kind of want to actually brag on you a little bit because it was initially your call. Um, the Ravens Patriots game. As I recall, when we recorded, initially I was going to pick the Ravens to win that game, and you ended up picking the Patriots. And then in talking about it, as I was giving you my reasons for thinking that the Ravens were going to win, I think I ended up flipping my vote at the last second.
Huh?
So thank you for that, by the way, because that would have made it look even worse. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would have still appreciated a 11-3 record this week, but I'll tell you, 12-2 is better.
Well, what's crazy about that game is it's just like I said, for one, you can't count out Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is a mastermind. He's the greatest coach of all time, one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Yeah,
And you can't, he's just not going to go down swinging. He's not going to want a bad record, a losing record on his resume. So you're going to try whatever he can to make sure that he doesn't have a losing record. And that's
well,
pretty much what he did.
I'll be honest with you. I think most coaches in the NFL pretty much try whatever they can to get whatever advantage they can get. I think Bill Belichick is just like masterfully good at it. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, look at all the destinations he's gone. Like, I mean, well, there's only two places he's really been, unless you count the Jets. There's only two places he's really been head coach, and so you can only really kind of take so much from that. But at the same time, it's just Bill Belichick has been doing this for so long in New England that it looks like the cards are stacked against them, and he finds a way to get the cards stacked in his favor. Um,
Yeah.
what are the Patriots sitting at now after that win?
Four
Looks
and
like
five, I believe.
4-5, right? So they are one win away from getting back to 500 after pretty much all of us, and right back in the playoff race, mind you. Now they're
Shit.
going to need to do some work, and they're going to need to get some help, but they're right back in the playoff race if they get back to that 5-5 record. Which mind you, I think we all kind of wrote them off after the first like 8 weeks, we were just kind of like, oh, this team looks awful.
We had the
I think
Texans
I
next
I
week.
think I even mentioned I was like, oh, I could see the Jets beating them in that game. And then in my defense, I think the Jets gave them a hell of a game, which you wouldn't have expected out of the Jets. But
Yeah. So they got Texans next week, and then they got the Cardinals. So they could probably beat the Texans. The Cardinals going to be tough out. But the biggest thing about this game is the fact that they held Lamar Jackson to only 17 points. Weather was a factor, obviously. Lamar Jackson had 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, so he didn't play terribly.
yeah,
But it just feels like that fear that the Baltimore Ravens had last year is just gone. People don't fear the Ravens anymore.
Nobody is like stepping to the side to take care of certain Lamar Jackson aspects so that they can not get destroyed by other Lamar Jackson aspects. They're all starting to figure out, hey, this is a pretty good game plan for tempering him, and then we can focus on the passing aspect of him, which is sometimes good, sometimes bad. But it's definitely the kind of thing that if you can take out Lamar's ability to control a game with his legs, then you can focus on shutting him down as a passer. And at that point, it's just, if you've got a good defense, if you've got a good defensive coordinator, if you've got a good defensive minded head coach like Bill Belichick, then it's going to be. At that point, I would actually swing the other way to say that I would predict the Ravens to lose most games that happen like that.
Well, yeah. Well, not only that, so like, people trying to figure him out more. For one, two, he's starting to be he cannot play from behind. One thing I noticed about Lamar Jackson, he struggled from playing behind. Would have said he have never won a game when he's losing by 10.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is. I think that statistic he would never won a game. So he never really had a real comeback, which is very surprising for a player that caliber. So like obviously the game plan is just get a lead early on the Ravens. They can't come back. Like it's crazy to think about that, but get a lead on the Ravens and they can't come back. Like they cannot close out a lead. Get two possessions in a row. All you need is 2 stops and two scores, and you're going to beat the Ravens.
Exactly.
It's that
exactly.
simple.
And on that note, it's kind of like they're not super great at holding on to a lead either. I mean, they win and that's all good. But if I recall that Bengals Ravens game that happened earlier this year, that everybody talks about, man, the Bengals are getting hammered in the national media right now because they're like, oh, well, they look good against teams that they should. Some of these teams that they should beat, like the Jets and the who was that team we beat earlier this year that wasn't the Titans? The Jaguars. So they're like, oh, well, they can beat the Jets and the Jaguars, and they can hang with a team that's maybe a little bit overrated like the Titans. But when it comes to actually competing in this AFC North, then they're just awful. But and I pointed it out at the time, but that game that the Bengals looked like, if you go back and you just look at the box score, it looks like the Bengals really got slaughtered by the Ravens in their first matchup this year, 27-3. But in reality, that was because they just got absolutely demolished for like the first quarter, and I believe it was the what was it? I believe it was the first play of the second quarter that they went up 17-0, and after that the Bengals defense managed to slow the Ravens offense down pretty significantly. I believe they got a field goal and they got a touchdown, which was actually they got a field goal on the Bengals defense, and then I believe Joe Burrow fumbled, got hit from behind and fumbled the ball, and the Ravens returned that for a touchdown. But basically the defense only gave up 3 points after they kind of figured out what they were doing and kind of got things going. And my point is if the Bengals can do that, then you're going to have a hell of a time convincing me that the Ravens are going to be able to step on, better opponents than us. I mean, I think the Bengals are competitive here and there, but at the end of the day, my whole like the Ravens took care of our offense. That was not their problem. It was our defense that really shut them down for most of that game. And when you're getting shut down by the Bengals defense, you've got problems.
Yeah, it's not just that. 'Cause, like, the Ravens last year, the reason why they were so dominant is that they're playing in a passing league and they were using a running offense. One thing that the Ravens did a great job last year is ball control. And they proved to everybody that it's not about running up the score; it's about ball control. And the Ravens did a good job last year of controlling the tempo, controlling the time of possession of
Right.
ball, and controlling the tempo of the game. So they get out to these leagues, they score like 7 points on you. They score a touchdown, right? You come down, they have a great defense. They'll get you one, they'll stop you. Then they have the ball for the next 5-6 minutes. Tire out your defense. Then their defense will get rested. They'll come back on the field and they will stop you again. Next thing you know, you're down by 14, and it's halfway through the second quarter, and they're up and they're driving the ball again. It's another 4-minute possession, and then they score another touchdown. Now they're up 21-0, and the second quarter is almost over, and they just wasted a whole bunch of time off the clock. And your defense is tired as hell because the Ravens dominated time possession. That's how the Ravens won last year. Is that they used time possession and they out physical every team. But now teams trying to catch up to that, and they're trying to figure out ways to neutralize Lamar Jackson and neutralize the Ravens defense for that.
Right. And I, for one, am going to have to give serious consideration to any game that the Ravens have going forward. Am I going to pick the Ravens or am I going to pick the other team, regardless of who the opponent is? Because right now, I don't buy the Ravens as anything more than just kind of like a filler playoff team. That's about it.
Uh-huh.
I could even see them like I mean this probably sounds a little crazy to say right now with them being what are they like they 6-3 right now, is that right?
They are 6-3 right now.
Yeah, they're 6-3 after that loss. But after that loss, this sounds like a crazy hot take, right? Or maybe a cold take, depending on your perspective. But I would not be shocked to see the Baltimore Ravens miss the playoffs this year with the way they just don't seem to be able to put it all together. It honestly, it kind of reminds me of the Bengals. Um, when the Bengals have like throughout the last 20 years when the Bengals have kind of like looked like they could be a playoff team but didn't really put everything together in the proper way. It kind of reminds me of the 2006 Bengals in particular because the 2006 Bengals coming off of that really, high excitement 2005 season and we go through the year, we have some ups and downs, but there's so many points throughout the last like 5 or 6 weeks of that season where we can really secure our playoff berth, and we just we win one and then we just screw it up, and then like our long snapper throws it the wrong direction and the whole team collapses. And the Baltimore Ravens this year kind of remind me of that. They just don't seem like they can really handle adversity very well.
They do not have a favorable next 4 games. Their next 4 games, okay, are Thursday night or Sunday night next or Sunday next week against the Titans. They're gonna have their hands full that game. The Titans are a good team.
Well,
Very solid team.
The Titans are the team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year.
Yeah. So actually, I think the Ravens might win that game. But after that game, they play Thursday night against the Steelers. I don't think they're gonna win that game because they're playing at Pittsburgh, and I think Pittsburgh is a horrible matchup for them.
Man, I'm not gonna lie. I desperately want the Ravens to win that game.
Just
stick it to the Steelers, man. Just stick
as a Browns fan, you want the Steelers to win as many games as possible so they can that number 1 seed, so they can rest their starters week. You want the Steelers to rest their starters week 17. You're a Browns fan.
As a certified absolute hater, an unabashed hater of the Pittsburgh Steelers, I hope the Baltimore Ravens take them to town. I don't care what playoff
But
implications, et
we gotta
cetera, et
put this.
cetera, et cetera,
This is the
has.
opportunity. This is the opportunity for the Ravens to just like fall off the cliff. Like
Well,
they played the Titans, the Steelers, and the Browns through the next 4 games, right?
well,
On
and they also play the Cowboys.
so if they lose that Titans game and they lose that Steelers game, they play the Cowboys and they play the Browns at a home Monday night. All I'm saying is Cleveland's gonna be juiced for that game. A Monday night game against a team that is coming down. Yeah.
Well, you know what? If y'all manage to win that Monday night game, that's going to give me a lot of hope for the Bengals Monday night game, which I believe that y'all play the Ravens week 14, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Look like the Ravens
Okay, so that's the week before we play the Steelers on Monday night. If you guys manage to win that game, that gives me a lot of hope as a Bengals fan because if you recall, the Ravens hurt you guys pretty badly.
Yeah.
In your other game this year. And so to give me hope as a Bengals fan, like, hey, well, this team just blew us out earlier this year, but maybe we got a chance. If the Browns can do it against the Ravens, maybe we can do it against the Steelers. Never know. But
like
I'm not gonna lie though. I hope the Ravens absolutely slaughter the Steelers. Like I don't even really like the Ravens. I'm not saying that because I like the Ravens. I'm saying that because I am sick and tired of seeing these cocky ass Steelers fans who just won't shut the hell up. They're the worst winners
the
of
Steelers
all
want to make the
time.
playoffs. So I want the Steelers to lose in the playoffs. But this is the opportunity for the Ravens to actually miss the playoffs. Like, all right, so put it in perspective. You might have to win 11 games to make the playoffs this year. If the Steelers lose to the Titans, the Steelers, and the Browns, not only will they be 6-6, which would be a hilarious scenario. But also, or they'd be 6-6? No, yeah. They'd be 7-6 if that happens because they probably beat the Cowboys. So if they lose those 3 games, right, then not only would they be 6-6, but also they will be behind the Browns and the Titans for a playoff spot in a very tightly congested AFC playoff. And you might have to win 11 games to guarantee a playoff spot. So realistically, the Ravens could get knocked out of the playoffs within the next month of the NFL.
Right.
That can happen.
We agree with that.
That's a real possibility.
That's a very real possibility.
They can lose to the Titans, they can lose to the Steelers, and they can lose to the Browns because none of those games are very favorable for them. The most favorable one out of all of them is the Titans because they're playing home, but they're playing at Pittsburgh on Thursday night. Away Thursday night games are some of the hardest games to win in the NFL. And they're playing at Cleveland on Monday night. And if they lose just one of those games and Cleveland have a chance to leapfrog them, you know that stadium is going to be juiced on December the 14th. You know December the 14th, that stadium is going to be juiced. So if I'm the Ravens are not in a good position right now. I know they still play the Giants, the Jaguars, and the Bengals, but it's not looking good for y'all right now, man. It's just not because y'all, I'm getting pretty excited here.
Hey. Don't count the Bengals out, man.
I'm not. Y'all might beat the Ravens. Y'all can finish them off.
Well,
Week 17, finish them off.
We did it with Dalton. Why can't we do it with Joe Burrow?
I hope so, man. Look, if y'all win that Week 17 game against the Ravens, and then y'all leapfrog them for 3rd place, what if they completely collapse? What if it's the start of collapse? I think they're going to have a mild collapse. I don't think they're going to completely, but I think that there's a real good chance that they'll lose 3 out of the next 4. If they lose 3 out of the next 4, it's over for them, man.
I think it's quite possible. But I think it's also quite possible that they bounce back too. This is still a talented team.
I know. They got a lot of talent. I think they're gonna win against the Titans, but I think they're losing that game against the Steelers.
So
I think that Steelers game is gonna be lost.
We had some really close calls this week. As far as our predictions go, like I said, we ended up having a really good week as far as predictions are concerned, but we had some that I said this on the main podcast yesterday when we recorded that. But I wasn't actually really watching the Browns Texans game too much because honestly, it was kind of a slugfest. It was kind of boring, and honestly, I watched that game for 3 minutes and I pretty much got exactly what was happening. All of the notes that I had in those like 3 minutes ended up being relevant for the entirety of the podcast. So that Browns Texans game was really not good TV, but the the game that I was watching was the Packers and Jaguars. We both picked the Packers to win that game, but neither of us, I think, expected the Jaguars to really take the Packers down to the wire. And when I say down to the wire, I mean like, there was at no point that I was sure that the Packers were going to win this game. I believe that the Jaguars took the lead first. They went up 3-0, and then they took the lead again with a punt return for a touchdown. Actually, in the second quarter, they went up 10-7. They went into the second half down 10-17, but that was only like I don't know. I did at that point. I had just really didn't trust the Packers' lead. As like the Packers are obviously the better team, so it seems weird to think that the Jaguars would come back, but they did tie it up after after what was it? It was a fumble by Devontae Adams, the Packers, like super reliable wide receiver who is just so good and has all these accolades and everything like that. But he really hurt them in the third quarter. He fumbled, and the Jaguars capitalized on that fumble with a touchdown, and suddenly game's back 17-17. And at that point, I think the Jaguars actually took the lead at one point too. They kind of bullied the Packers. Got an interception and capitalized on that interception with a field goal. And they were up 2017 at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and you were starting to think, oh my God, can the Packers really should be the winning team here, but do they have what it takes to actually overcome all this adversity and find a way to win? And actually on the very next drive, I believe Aaron Rodgers led them down the field for a touchdown, and the 24-20 final score was solidified. The rest of the game kind of wasn't really a whole lot. But man, that was like right after we had just made that incorrect prediction on Thursday night, and this was the first game that I was watching on Sunday, and I was like, oh man, we're gonna have a horrible week this week, aren't we, as far as predictions go?
Yeah. So two things. I got two takeaways from that game. The first takeaway is James Robinson, the running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah, he's legit. He's a ball. I like him.
Oh, he's good. He's good. He's I don't know if he's going to stay this good, but he's going to be one of those guys who like he's going to be in circulation at least throughout the league for a very long time. If not, I don't think he's going to be the Jaguars' answer at that position for a super long time, but I think he's going to be one of those guys who, you hear about he's going to be playing until into his 30s and stuff as a running back.
Well, yeah, it magnified the important. One thing I love about this 2020 season is that we're seeing the resurgence of the running back, and I love that. I phenomenally love that. The 22-year-old.
You wouldn't know if you watched the Bengals.
Yeah, well, the 22-year-old had 689 yards. 4 yards per carry and 5 touchdowns on the season, which really isn't that bad. He came out of nowhere. So shout outs to him. But the other thing I took away from this game is the Packers right now are a 7-2 football team that struggled against the 1-8 Jaguars. So what I took away from this game is my prevailing theory that the AFC is so much better than the NFC. It is just so apparent how much better the AFC is from the NFC. And every single time the AFC team plays against the NFC opponent, the NFC seems to struggle with them. This is a game the Packers probably should have won by a lot, but they struggled with a team like the Jaguars, a team that they probably shouldn't struggle with when you have somebody the likes of Aaron Rodgers. And everybody else you could think of. Although weather might have been a prevailing factor, the Packers probably should have won this game more handily. And I go back to my original theory: how much better the AFC is than the NFC.
Well,
So,
there's that, but I think it's also I don't know if irresponsible is the right word, but it's definitely, in my opinion, not correct to say that this is a definite example of the AFC being better
well,
than
it's
the
not.
NFC because the
You're right.
Jaguars are not better than the Packers. They're just not. This is an
Obviously not.
example
No.
of any given Sunday, any team can beat any other team. It just kind of depends on the
Okay, I
game
agree.
plan. It depends on the matchups. It depends on who's utilized. It depends on the strategy. It depends on the coach.
I love
Depends on
that little Kenny doll you got over there. You
him.
kill Kenny, you bastard.
Yeah, I want him. I want him at some game at Kings Island back in like high school, and I've just had him ever since.
I gotta go to Kings Island, man. I've been to Kings Island.
Oh, Kings Island's great.
I mean, we have Cedar Point,
What?
and we used to have Geauga Lake. So I'm not hurting on going to amusement parks, but it'd be nice to go to Kings Island, though.
I am definitely just having Kings Island right next door. I don't know. I've heard great things about Cedar Point. I've heard great things about like a lot of places around a lot of places, but at the end of the day, I've never really felt like, oh, I'm hurting for somewhere to go because Kings Island's always an awesome place to go. I actually used to work
You
there
gotta check
for
out.
about 2 summers back in college.
You gotta check out Cedar Point. You gotta check out Cedar Point. I gotta check out Kings Island. We can do it together next summer. But you gotta check out Cedar Point though.
My
Cedar
wife
Point
keeps
is
asking to go up that way, and actually Kings Island's got this deal that I think if you buy like a premium pass, then you also have access to Cedar Point.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah.
But anyway, back to these games, we had a couple other close calls. In particular, the Washington football team and the Detroit Lions. Actually, we both picked the Lions to win this game. I think we both, at least my thought process was that this would be a close game because, like, while I do think the Lions are kind of resurging, I still don't think they're a very good team. And, the Washington football team is also not a good team. But I believe what happened here was the Washington football team actually they were down like 17-3 at the half, and Alex Smith led them on this incredible comeback, and they actually had the game tied. And then Matt Prater hits a 59-yard field goal, and suddenly me and Thomas look smarter on the week, and the Washington football team's dreams are all destroyed.
The NFC East sucked, bruh.
Terrible. What was it? The Giants beat the Eagles. I mean, like, come on, Eagles. Like, I mean, y'all got taken to town by Daniel Jones. Like, God, that guy's not any good, but like, he apparently better than Carson Wentz. Which anybody listening to this podcast knows how we feel about Carson Wentz. But
Carson Wentz is trash, and I get to say that all week. Oh, I hope we don't lose this week.
Actually, the Dallas Cowboys did not play this week, and they still came out winners. That's how bad this division is. I believe the New York Giants and Dallas Cowboys now have the same number of losses on the season. Had the Cowboys played, let's see, what other teams were on bye this week? You had the Chiefs, so they ain't going to beat the Chiefs. They could have played the Jets this week, and then maybe the Cowboys would have won. And then the Cowboys and the Giants would be tied for first place in the NFC East. What is wrong with this division? At 3-7.
Dude, it's comedy, man. It's comedy.
Oh, wait, no, I lied. The Eagles are still winning because they're 35-1. Which is still
Daniel Jones out here breaking Daniel Jones out here breaking for 50-yard line, for 50-yard runs and shit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, Daniel Jones, when he runs, like, he can't be that fast, can he be? Like, is he really that talented or y'all just that bad? Like, I think
somebody put a stat out there, like, when he like that famous Daniel Jones play where he actually he's got a clear touchdown run and he trips over his own feet.
It's over his own feet. Yeah.
Yeah, apparently he hit 22 miles an hour on that run. So the dude's got legs. The dude can move. He's just
Oh, okay.
he's got some of the worst pocket presence I've ever seen. And it's like, I guess once he gets out of the pocket, then whatever. But when he's in the pocket, that's terrible. And the problem is that's where you start the damn play.
Well, I mean, I think the kid got potential. I think he got more potential than Sam Darnold, honestly.
Well, okay, but that's because Sam Darnold. Well, I don't know. Hold up. I think if Sam Darnold goes to another team, then Sam Darnold has more potential than Daniel Jones. But Sam Darnold is in a wasteland in New York right now. And if he stays there, if for some god awful reason the Jets decide to stick with Sam Darnold and to stick with the same system next year, they don't make any major changes, Sam Darnold is fucked.
Yeah.
Like he's just he's like they need to move on from Sam Darnold, not just because they need to find the next great quarterback in New York, but also for Sam Darnold's sake.
Don't worry, Sam Darnold. Don't worry, Sam Darnold. Trevor Lawrence gonna steal your job next year. If Trevor Lawrence don't steal your job
Trevor
next
Lawrence
year,
is going to have to deal with. Actually, I saw a meme about Trevor Lawrence and the Jets. They said it was it was basically like a cool, calm, and collected picture. I forget what to call that meme. The guy who's just like sitting back, like yeah. And it said when Trevor Lawrence decides to not enter the 2021 NFL draft to avoid the New York Jets, going 0-16. And then the next one is the one where the guy's like, oh shit, because it's like when the Jets go 0-16 the next year too. And this is the situation this guy's dealing with. Like, you got probably, the overall best quarterback prospect to ever come out of the draft. And people talked about Joe Burrow and stuff like that, but Joe Burrow had to work his way up to get there. Trevor Lawrence has pretty much been from day one considered to be this insane draft prospect. I don't think anybody's ever been consistently considered just this unmissable draft prospect in the way that Trevor Lawrence really has. And this guy seems like he's going to get stuck with the Jets. That sucks.
I mean, he's gonna live in New York. He'll be fine.
Well, okay. I mean, living in New York and having the kind of money that being an NFL player comes with, that'll be cool. But
yeah,
I mean, if you're just willing to give up on your football dreams, which is what gets these guys to this position in the first place, like nobody becomes a number one NFL draft pick thinking, "Oh, I'm going to make so much money in the NFL." No, they get there because they love football and they want to be great at football.
As long as as long as they what they gotta do is they gotta get rid of that coaching. They gotta clean house. If I'm the Jets, I'm cleaning house top to bottom. I would clean house. I bring in somebody more competent. There are some competent coaches out there. Maybe see if you get McDaniels out of New England, see if he could rebuild your franchise. Maybe that might be an option for you.
I really don't see McDaniels doing anything different than Gase did, honestly.
Yeah, well, you're right. I'm with you on that one. I'm kind of tired of the Patriots project.
Well, I mean, it worked out with Brian Flores and Matt Patricia's over here turning the Lions around. Like, I mean, at the beginning of like 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were talking about like Matt Patricia being one of the biggest names on the hot seat. But it's just like right now, if the Lions continue the trajectory they're on, fuck, if the Lions make the playoffs, Matt Patricia is safe. Trust me. Matt Patricia might be safe for like 4 more years if the Lions make the playoffs. But it's just I get that a lot of Belichick prodigies haven't worked out, but in recent years there have been a couple who haven't been doing so bad. Like Brian Flores got the Miami Dolphins at 6-3. How?
Well, I just gonna throw out this theory is that a lot of times people a lot of people they think that that the best option is to hire an offensive minded coach, but a lot of these defensive minded coaches, they're not bad. They're not bad options. Most defensive minded coaches, they preach discipline and they keep the team organized and they're adult in the room. And so you look at the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. I know the 49ers aren't that good this year, but that's because of injuries. But that'll take away the coaching job the defensive coordinator for the for the 49ers have done. So, like he might be an option, go one of the best defensive coordinators in the business. I like him a lot. I like the offense coordinator for the Ravens. He might be an option. He's a popular pick. I'm not too sold on him, but I really like the defense coordinator from the 49ers. I think that he could be a really good coach, and I think that he'd be a great option for the Jets if you get a good offense coordinator to pair him with, and then have him kind of be like the CEO of the team. And him just watch over the defense and him just watch over the team, kind of like what Bill Belichick does. Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad role to have your head coach in because it's obviously working for the Dolphins right now. So, maybe go with somebody like that. I don't know. All I know is the Jets need to clean house, though, because whatever they got there is not working. Just clean house. Fire everybody.
In my opinion, the next great head coach in the NFL is going to be Eric Bieniemy.
Okay.
If Eric Bieniemy goes to a team that is like the Houston Texans, a team that's got some talent but just needs somebody who's not a complete moron to come in and shape it in his image. But if Eric Bieniemy goes to the Jets, Eric Bieniemy's career is over. He just started. I mean, he'll probably get like other jobs. He'll be able to rebuild, some respectability back. Kind of like what's his name? That's the guy who used to be your head coach, Mike Pettin.
Yeah.
He's not doing so great as the Packers defensive coordinator right now, but he built himself back up into somebody to take seriously.
Yeah.
And if the Packers weren't so bad on defense this year, he might be a candidate for being another head coach again.
Eric Bieniemy is the offense coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs right now. Just want to tell everybody that so they know what we're talking about.
Eric Bieniemy. He's the offensive coordinator, but is he like the full offensive coordinator this year? Because back when the Bengals were looking for head coaching candidates, he was one of those guys who came up, and I know back then he wasn't calling plays. So is that still the case, or is he? Is Andy
I don't know, but
much the mastermind, and then Eric Bieniemy is just kind of his offensive assistant.
I was about to say anybody involved in that offense for Kansas City deserves to get looked at as head coach.
But then again, you got Patrick Mahomes being possibly the easiest quarterback to succeed with in maybe in NFL history. That dude is something else.
By the way, the defensive coordinator for the 49ers that I mentioned earlier is Robert Saleh. That was the guy I was talking about. He, I just think that he has great head coaching ability. I think that you're going to see a trend of people hiring these defensive coordinators more because it's working for the Dolphins, and it's a copycat league. So, yeah, it's a copycat league.
Yeah,
I like him. He bring discipline to the team. He'll bring stability. So We'll see what happens.
Right,
I mean, Kevin Stefanski, he's an offensive minded coach, and he's Kevin Stefanski is just a great coach.
Right. Speaking of Kevin Stefanski, his old team pulled off a win that me and you predicted, but a lot of people thought that the Vikings were gonna lose this week because that the Bears defense being such a good team and Kirk Cousins' notable struggles on Monday Night Football and under the bright lights and stuff like that, and they came through this week. It seemed like the only reason that the Chicago Bears were even in this game was because Cordarrelle Patterson had a punt or either a punt return or a kick return for a touchdown. And that was really the only thing that was keeping the Chicago Bears in this game because that Chicago Bears offense is a nightmare. like Nick Foles looked like I think what a lot of people expected Kirk Cousins to look like this week, just because he
Oh, did
struggled
his
so
injury
much.
report come back yet? By the way,
Did what?
What was wrong? What happened to him?
Who?
Nick Foles.
Oh, that's right. He got hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hold
he
up.
got hurt pretty bad.
Yeah, he that happened while we were recording.
Hip.
I think I mentioned something about it.
They say it's not as bad as they first thought. Bears are on the bye, so
Yeah.
that's good. But it's his hip. Here we go. Test show no fracture in his hip. That's good. That's good. Undergo more further evaluation. That's good, man. I hate to see these quarterbacks get hurt, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I hate to see it because I am fairly interested in seeing if the Bears could somehow squeak into the playoffs because I want to see if Nick Foles could capture that playoff magic again because he's a beast in the playoff.
Do you know when Foles is supposed to come back?
I don't know. It didn't say. It just says that he's not. His injury's not as bad as first seen.
Okay.
So
ponder something with me real quick. What if the Bears? What they're 5-5 now, right? Right. So they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They got 7 games left. So being at 5-5 right now, because of that hot start they had, they could potentially go on a run and make the playoffs. What if? Because Mitch Trubisky is going to be back for at least a little while, starting because Nick Foles is out, right?
Yeah.
What if they start winning again with Mitch Trubisky the way they were doing at the beginning of the year when Mitch Trubisky was their starter? And then you got Mitch Trubisky. You suddenly have another quarterback controversy in Chicago because the Bears are winning again with Mitch Trubisky. They make it to the playoffs. By then, Nick Foles is probably ready to come back. But at that point, it's just kind of like, Mitch Trubisky, whether he's any good or not, he's apparently the lucky rabbit's foot here. So, do you potentially have a situation where Mitch Trubisky is a starting quarterback in the playoffs?
I mean, it was 2 years ago.
That he was a Pro Bowler in his rookie year. I mean, we all know that was a mirage, but still, I don't know. There's just it seems like there's something to Mitch Trubisky. Maybe not being a good quarterback, but having good things follow him.
Well, I mean, sometimes you gotta just give these young quarterbacks time to grow and learn. Young. I don't understand. One thing I never understood about the NFL is how little time we give quarterbacks, especially ones who just break. Do you know anybody who was just great at their job within the first year? I literally don't know anybody who comes in their first year and just great at their job. Especially when you talk about young people at jobs.
Joe Burrow.
Even Joe Burrow, though. Joe Burrow, he ain't as good as he's going to be in 5 years.
And I hate to say it, but Ben Roethlisberger.
Well, yeah, but Ben Roethlisberger wasn't as good his rookie year as he was 5 years into his season.
Well, no, they went 15-1 his rookie year, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, but that's because they had other factors. That don't mean that he was better his rookie year. It just means he had a better record.
No, he wasn't better his rookie year, but he was really successful just as a quarterback, not even just in terms of team success. He was really successful his rookie year. Baker Mayfield was successful his rookie year. Andy Dalton was successful his rookie year. Quarterbacks in the AFC North, except Lamar Jackson, are successful their rookie year.
Sure.
I don't think Lamar Jackson had much.
I don't know. I think my whole point is you got to give the young quarterbacks time. And I just don't. I think that we gave Mitch Trubisky 4 years, 3.5 years, and we're like, all right, he's done. And it is 4 years, but I mean, you might as well see what you have. You might as well see what you can do the last couple of months.
When you're dealing with billion-dollar franchises and million-dollar players and guys who you're paying insane amounts of money, and you get the kind of production out of guys that you get out of Mitch Trubisky, it's just kind of like I don't blame for NFL teams for like being like, what have you done for me lately type teams, because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, it is sometimes the difference between millions and millions of dollars if these players are, like if these players perform for you or not. So these are like super high risk decisions these guys are making. And I'm not terribly
Yeah.
surprised that now, okay, when you give a guy 1 year and give up on him, like the Cleveland Browns are so, fond of doing.
Yep.
That's insane to me. Now, it didn't work out for the Arizona Cardinals. Give them all the credit. They gave up on Josh Rosen and Steve Wilkes after 1 year, and it ended up working.
They probably should have. Yeah, they probably should have.
That was a great decision. But I think the
wasn't-
Browns have shown that it has always been a very bad decision. Now maybe with Freddie Kitchens, fair enough. But the vast majority of guys that you guys have fired after 1 year, I always felt like that was a huge overreaction. Like Eric Mangini,
Yeah.
was he one of those ones that you guys only had for a year?
No, we gave him 2 years, I believe, 2 or 3 years. But I think we should have gave Eric Mangini a longer chance, though. I feel like we didn't give that regime. Like there was just so much going on with that. Like, cause like you drafted Colt McCoy, and then you barely give him a year to really start and do anything. And then before you're able to even see what Colt McCoy got, you go out and draft Brandon Weeden. It's like, really?
And then
this
is the same team that brought Hugh Jackson back after 0-16.
I don't get it. I don't get it, dude. I don't get it. I think my team's cursed.
Like even the Lions fired Rob Marinelli.
I think we're 6-3. That's what. This is why Cleveland fans, you should not be mad about being 6-3. This is exactly why you should not be mad about being 6-3 right now. If I hear one of y'all motherfuckers complain about being 6-3, Browns fans complaining about 6-3, it's like a poor kid, right? Who grew up his entire life poor, right? And then he gets a brand new Mercedes. And him driving the Mercedes and going like, man, I really wish this was a Lambo. Man, shut the fuck up. You're driving a Mercedes right now. Take 6-3 right now. You are doing great.
Let's not lie, Lambos are pretty great.
But I mean, like you were poor. You were poor.
Right. It kind of reminds me of Bengals fans who were like, like throughout the entire Andy Dalton era, I always got so mad at Bengals fans for being like, oh, we suck, we're so bad, but we're making the playoffs every goddamn year. 10 years ago, we were the Browns. Like, come on.
Man. Anyway, I don't even think about I legit rooted for a team that won 3 games a year my entire childhood. Like that. Oh, so many bad memories. So many bad memories.
I feel you. I went through that for my first 10 years. Really bad Bengals teams.
10 years. Yeah. Try 20.
That's true. That's true. The Browns have had it even worse at this point. I actually did the math. I don't have the math in front of me anymore, but it's actually on a Facebook status that I posted. Maybe I'll bring it to the next podcast with that actual information. But I actually did the math. The Browns have, after last year's finish, the Browns officially broke the Bengals record of absolute insane futility over the last 10 years compared to the Bengals 10 years in the 90s. It's an actual real stat that I really compiled after last year. I don't have it on me right now, but I might bring it on to the next podcast. But
might as well, because they've been that bad, and we're trying to turn a new leaf. Keep in mind, Browns fans, we are above 500 in the 2020 decade.
Right.
When's the last time we were above 500 in a decade? It was the 80s. So Progress.
I think we've been going on too long, though. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks for watching, everybody. This is, like I said, this is not the main podcast. This is just, we're talking about the predictions and it was going on way too long during the podcast. We decided to just give it its own video, and then we didn't have to worry about how long it took. So yeah, see you guys. I guess. I guess the next thing we're going to record is going to be the preview episode for the next upcoming week. So see you guys then. Who dey?
Go Browns.